Hey everybody, it's Safi and Marco Dish Out on Movies, the only movie review show on YouTube to review movies in terms of food. And it's just Marco here once again. And I say once again because I already filmed this review and I filmed it. It was an hour and 34 seconds long. And it was a great review. And then I uploaded it to Filmmaker Pro, and then I deleted it off my phone since it's a lot of storage and I need storage to download it back into my phone. So therefore it was only in the app, and the app crashes all the time, or it threatens to crash. Like even if you're editing a 30-second long video, it'll say, memory warning, and then it'll crash the app, and you have to, fucking reload it and restart it, or even restart your phone. It is ridiculous. And with this video, I deleted the original, too early, and it made it to where it deleted the whole video on the app, and, wow, God, I fucking... Okay, that is just what I'm feeling right now. I mean, the review was already hard. As I said in the first video, the review was extremely difficult. It was basically like in Problem Child 2, or they're on the carnival ride and they're puking all over the place like it's The Exorcist, and because they messed up with the controls. And they put it on extreme. That's what doing this review is like, because I apologize for not reviewing this show weekly, because I feel like I could have put a lot more attention into the details and people would know a lot more. I wouldn't have to say as much. It wouldn't have to be an hour long. But there's so much stuff to talk about. Let's not dilly-dally. Let's not willy-wally. Let's talk about Dopesick, a show that I never want to watch again. I never want to review again. I have to review it again. I have some great things to say about it. I have some good things to say about it. And I have some bad things to say about it. I know that you guys are excited to hear what the bad things are, but we'll get there. I want to start off with the nice things first, for all the people. There's so many people that just, listen to 1 minute of my reviews, and then they're like, this guy's a jerk. This guy's mean. He doesn't know what he's talking about. And it's like, really? You didn't even listen to the full fucking hour-long review, and you're already saying, this guy doesn't know anything. Like, fuck off. So, oh, God, there's so much to talk about. Let's just get right down to it. Oh, I hope I never have to have the feeling. And you know what? I am filming this review with the hope that I never have to redo an hour-long video again. So that is the only reason I am doing this, because I hope I never have to do it again. That is how bad it is. The things I liked about it were Michael Keaton, for sure. The performances really elevated the material beyond what it was. It took the material from being like C grade to being A grade. Michael Keaton, Michael Stuhlbarg, Bill Poulter, Will Poulter, Mr. Sinister, as I called him in my first review. Everyone did a great job, except for one or two. We'll talk about them later. The lawyers, they did a really good job. You had Rick, and then you had the other guy, the really nice guy. He was so nice. He was just such a great spirit the whole season. He was such a cheerful person, and I loved how he just stayed that way the whole show. Whereas the other guy, Rick, he got really jaded and tired and mean as the show went on. Kind of mean in terms of, you could just tell he was sick of it. And he just wanted to go home and clap them cheeks because his wife was thick. And we'll talk about the sexuality problem later, because this show is yet another modern show that is devoid of sexuality. In fact, it sort of has some negative sexuality, because it's almost like, there's all sorts of types of porn videos, and one of those types of porn videos is the pawn shop porn, where there's someone running a pawn shop, and then there's this girl, and she's like, okay, bye-bye. And then the guy's like, wait a second, you little thing. You've stolen something from my pawn shop. Let's go to the back and take care of it. And, oftentimes it's a mom and daughter or something like that, or sisters, or it's just one girl. I watched one that was really good with this woman named Lexi Banderas. And that was my favorite one. She stole a big buckle of, I think it was like a horse buckle or something, and and they have that same thing happen in this show, but it's in like a negative way. It's a very dark and very, ugly sequence that, they don't even show anything. They just kind of imply it. But it's done in such a way where it's like, that there's people out there who, they don't care because they know it's fake. And so they're looking at that and they're going, oh, yeah. So it's like, it's really weird because there's no, like, positive sexuality. I guess I'll get the sexuality out of the way because there's so many things to talk about. I don't want to delay it till like 30 minutes. But there's so many situations where it felt like awkward that they weren't naked, or they weren't topless at least. Like there was this one scene with Betsy. We'll talk all about Betsy, because Betsy was a very sad little plot device girl. She's a little sad Betsy. It's a little sad minor girl. You can have an overdose minor girl. She was a very, very obvious plot device, and that was part of why her story was trash. But back to the sexuality. She was at this clinic in Florida, and she was trying to scam some pills out of a doctor so that she could get it to her dealer and they could sell it and shit and have it. And she's asked to put on a medical robe to be examined. Her back. She's got a back injury from the coal mine, and and the doctor asks her to take her bra off because she puts her robe on and she doesn't even take her bra off. And then she takes her bra off underneath the robe, and it looks extremely uncomfortable, like really, really uncomfortable for her to do that. In general, like maybe even as an actress, I bet it was, I wonder if it was hard for her to do that, because it looked really uncomfortable, and it just felt like such an obvious thing of like, we don't want to show her breasts, we don't want to show this person, we don't want to show that person, like Rosario Dawson, she has this sex scene early on with Chubby Chilton. That's what I called him in my first review. He played Chilton in Hannibal, the show, and I think his real name is Raoul, or Raoul, or, however you say it. But he's kind of a little chubby, so I call him Chubby Chilton. And he's got a sex scene with Rosario Dawson, and it cuts away as soon as they're in the middle of kissing. And all I can think about is like, why are we going backward? Like, why are we going back to the 00s, the Puritan times with this shit? Like, sexuality isn't something to be ashamed of and something to cover up, as you keep making the point in the show that the main, Betsy, the poor girl Betsy, she's a lesbo, and it's like she's got to hide it, wah, wah, wah. But it's like you guys are covering up every sexuality, like all sexuality. So, if you really want people to be acceptant of it, why don't you just have some sexuality in general? Like, why is it that everything has to be covered up? It has to be edited through, like over edited. Nothing could be shown. It's just so contrived and so Puritan BS. I really hate that shit. It's just really bizarre that we're regressing. This is a TV show. They can do whatever the fuck they want. They can show a woman getting fisted. It doesn't matter. They can show a guy getting fisted. They can show a guy, like double teaming a girl. Like, they can show literally whatever the fuck they want. And they choose to not show anything, and it just feels like such an obvious, like, cover-up, and I'm really getting sick of that shit. It's either that, or they either just cover everything up, or they just have clothed sex scenes. I'm not even kidding. Clothed sex scenes. How do you have sex with your clothes on? Do you mow the lawn without pants on? Do you mow the lawn without shoes on? Do you fucking get your teeth fixed without opening up your mouth? Do you get your eyes examined by having the doctors look in your belly button? That's the level of stupid ass shit with this sexuality problem that's really hit American movies and shows nowadays. Everyone says it's getting worse, but it's really not. It's kind of like tricking you, because there's all this like explicit talk. Like, one of the lesbians in the show, she just keeps on like crudely talking in the first episode, saying all this explicit shit, and it's almost like they're tricking you by making you think that there's more sexual stuff going on than there is. So by having just like her saying a couple of words like pussy and stuff like that, they're making it seem like there's a lot of sexuality, but there really isn't. It's very Puritan, very cover it up, shame on you, Missy. Don't show that. You're a pure virgin girl, whatever the fuck. It's really, really bizarre. And I just wanted to talk about, I didn't mean to make it last 12 minutes long, but my favorite, that porn video with Lexi Banderas lasted 12 minutes long too, so I don't feel very bad about that. It was a great 12 minutes. That's probably in my top 50 videos, maybe top 40, top 30. She looked really good in that video. She's kind of let herself go, but in that video, she was like on fire. She was like, wow. Okay. So things, okay. Just move on. Things that I like, obviously, love the performances. Love them. Michael Keaton, he deserved an Oscar for The Founder. The Founder is a masterpiece. And I watched that movie. Everyone said, The Founder's just this boring burger movie. All it is people eating burgers. And I watched it and I was like, what the hell? Like, that movie was incredible. Michael Keaton's performance was incredible. He did such a good job of playing a guy that you hated and loved at the same time. Because he was evil, but at the same time, you loved seeing his transformation, his journey, his getting McDonald's and making it what it is today and growing it. What a badass character, Roy Kroc, in that film. What a fantastic character. We need more complicated characters like that instead of like, one-sided caricatures like Betsy and Rosario Dawson and other people like, other characters like that. And in this show, he did a great job. He did such a good job at playing this doctor who really cares about his community, and I loved his performance. I loved Bill Poulter's performance. He played the sales rep, this sleazy sales rep. I call him Mr. Sinister. He did a great job too, because when you look at that guy, he just looks evil. Like, he just looks completely, with his eyebrows, he looks like he's going to beat you to a pulp and steal all your cookies and shit. He looks evil, pure evil. So I really like the strategy that they took with him by having him play a character who started off evil, and he kind of changed over the series, and he really, I love seeing that transformation. It was a really well done transformation with his character. That was one of my favorite things about the show. Him and Michael Keaton, they had such good chemistry together. They should have their own, like a movie together, because they're that good together. They're like Abbott and Costello level good. They were just so good together. And then, of course, I already talked about the lawyers. And then, well, we'll talk about Rosario Dawson later. That sounded pretty mean. I was like, we're going to talk about Rosario Dawson later. Excuse me. But then the female sales rep, sorry, I can't remember. There were so many names in the show. Like, I know Rosario was Bridget, but there were so many people, so many names, and I binged it. I binged basically the whole season, and so I really didn't latch on to many names at all, except for like the most important ones, like, of course, Betsy! Uh-oh, Betsy got a boo-boo. She's gonna take a little pilly poo, and then she's gonna overdose. Like, uh-oh. She was like, oh, we'll talk all about Betsy in the bad section, because it was too bad. They really did a disservice to her as an actress. She's a pretty good actress from this show, and she deserved better. And I'll say that like every time, basically, when you have a story, a movie, a show, whenever there's like a bad aspect, like with an actor, I'm starting to realize that it's never really the actor's problem. It's usually the writer's problem. And so I'm not going to say, like, I didn't like Betsy because of her. I think it's because of the writer, because she still did a really good job, regardless of her bad story. And then the female sales rep, though, she was really good. I really liked her. She played such an evil character. Like, wow, she was pure evil. She was probably one of the top 3 evil people in the whole show. Like, that's how bad she was. But my favorite performance... Well, okay, and also just wanted to give a shout out, because the head of the salespeople was this guy who was in the movie Pirate Kids. And that was a really crappy, funny movie that I saw when I was a kid. And I thought it was so funny seeing him in this, because he was, Pirate Kids was such a light, crappy indie movie affair. And, you compare that with this was very dark and serious and, overly serious. And it was so funny realizing that was him. And, the redheaded sales manager guy, he was in Pirate Kids. And if you want to have a good laugh, go check out Pirate Kids, because it's pretty funny in like a bad way, a good bad way. But my favorite performance was Michael Dam Stuhlberg as Richard Sackler. His whole story, that was probably like one of that story and then the doctor story, those were my 2 favorite stories out of everything. I just loved Richard Sackler's character, the way that he was sort of like the Grim Reaper, he had this like, he talked like he was like, almost like he was dead, and he was like a zombie, he was like a Grim Reaper, he was like, everybody is against me, and I can't do anything because you all are defeatist. And he had layers, though, because he had this underdog element to him. Everyone in the show was against him. And it felt like it was so satisfying sometimes to actually see him win. Because it felt like, okay, he he finally got a little win. Like, good on him, even though he's a horrible, mean, evil piece of shit. I mean, at one point, he even says, I am not capable of having joy. I mean, that's really over the top and funny, but, like, if he really said that, like, that is, like, creepy. Like, that, like, it was really, he was in Your Honor as the villain, and he did a really good job in that one. But in that one, they really didn't give him that much to do besides just be the tough guy character. And I really loved how this show gave him depth. He had a lot of depth to his character. Even taking a look at his home life. Like, his home life was a disaster, too. They showed, like, a couple of minutes of his home life, and let's just play out the scene. I promise, Lexi Banderas is not in the scene getting pounded, unfortunately. But this scene, okay, he walks down the stairs, and I think he's in a suit already, and I can't even remember if he says, like, good morning, wife. Oh, fuck, it hurts my throat to talk like that. And then he sits down. It didn't hurt my throat in the first video. That's what's frustrating. But he sits down. He gets he pushes his orange juice drink over to the left of his plate. Okay? And then he takes the Sorry about that. He takes the toast and he butters it twice. And he's very, very, particular with how he butters it. And then he eats one bite of toast in the corner. And then he puts it down. I think does he wipe his mouth with a napkin? And then he leaves and he's like, I have no time for breaks or vacations. He's really funny. I just loved his performance. I really hope that he gets some awards recognition because he was so unforgettable. Like, I will never forget his performance as Richard Sackler. This really, really cool, like, villainous performance. But at the same time, he had he had a lot of character to him. And I love that. I love fully developed villains that aren't just, oh, that's the evil guy in the corporate place. This guy's a really bad guy. He's very bad. He's got lots of money. He's gonna hurt your family with this mean drug. I love the depth that they gave him. So, and there were some things I really liked in terms of stories. Like, I loved the finale was really good. Even though it had some problems I'll get to later, it really stuck the landing. It is the only finale I've seen the whole year, in fact, that has stuck the landing with the story. So I really have to applaud the finale. It was really, really well done in terms of wrapping everything up, making everything almost feel satisfying, and have all the characters get a little moment. But unfortunately, there were some bumps along the way to the finale. It felt a little bit like the show was rushed. Like the show didn't have time to do everything it wanted to do. It felt a little bit like there were a lot of these little stories that didn't really matter, but they were very important to being plot devices for the main story. Like, there's this guy who looks like Timothée Chalamet, and he dies from an overdose, wah, wah, wah. And basically the whole point of his character is to get Rosario Dawson to cry in one scene and be, like, really upset with her husband. And we'll talk all about her storyline because, wow, that was bad. That was really bad. Really, really bad storyline. But there were a lot of little stories like that didn't really go anywhere. They just felt like they were there to serve their purpose for the emotion of them, and then they're done. I really didn't like that. There were a lot of stories that, I wanted to see what happened. And that goes hand in hand with my next complaint, which is, and overall, though, I will say that I love the show. and I'll say that it is the best show of the year that I've seen. So I just wanted to make that clear before I start ripping it apart, because, just because you have a lot of criticisms doesn't mean it makes the show bad or good. It just means that there's stuff to talk about, like, what do I say if I like the show? What do I just say if I just like it completely? Like, I love that, I love that, I love that. That's not fun. That's not entertaining. You don't want to see that. And it's not the truth either. Like, everything has problems. Everything has criticisms. Nothing is incapable of critique, even with, like the Suicide Squad movie. Like, oh, God, there's some bad things in that, like Harley Quinn, ew. And, stuff with the final act and stuff like that. Like, there's criticisms for everything. It's not just, like, picking and choosing. I'm being very fair with, like, what I say, and not just, like, bullying certain shows and movies. Like, I'm being very fair. And so I hope that people can, watch all of my reviews and really understand that, because, like, seriously, nothing is incapable of getting criticism. And with this show, there's a lot to deal criticism-wise, if that all made any sense to you. First off, let's talk about Betsy. Poor little Betsy. This poor, sweet girl, she's a closet lesbian atheist, and she can't tell her Christian parents, and she has a girlfriend, and she wants to leave with her to go to Eureka Springs. And, but she can't, because she gets addicted, and she has a mining accident, and she has to work at a gas station, and then she goes down the wrong road with this drug dealer guy. We never find out what happens to him, because all we find out what happens with him is that he dyes his hair black, he grows out his hair, and he lives in a tent. That's all that we find out what happens to him. But then this girl, she goes to Florida to get some drugs, and then she goes back, and then she gets addicted again, and then her parents put her in Jesus camp, and then she's got other problems, and she's gonna finally get on the road to the right path, but then she gets sold drugs at this addiction place, and then it is so fucking cliche with this Betsy. This shit is played out, man. Didn't you ever see Reefer Madness with that promising young boy? When that teenage boy smokes some pot, and then he gets in a car accident and dies. Boo-hoo, boo-hoo. Aren't we done with that? Aren't we done with having the sacrificial lamb storyline with these drug movies and shows? Like, poor little Betsy, wah, wah, wah. It's so sad. You guys cried. Everyone cried. I cried of laughter. Just thinking about, like, how obvious it was that she was gonna die. Like, it was just so obvious. Like, she's just the perfect victim. Like, how could you not kill her? Like, she's the perfect person to kill. She's innocent. She's sweet. She's got a drug problem, but it's like she wants to get out. She's a lesbian closet. Like, it is just so perfect in terms of, like, a writer, like, having the perfect victim for emotional porn. Like, for you guys to just go like, wah, 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 poor little Betsy, wah, wah, wah. It's perfect. It's just too perfect. So I really hope that no one watched this show with the thinking that Betsy would somehow survive. Because, the first moment I saw her, and I saw that rodeo scene, and I saw the bathroom scene, I knew, whoa, there's the girl who's gonna die, and it's gonna be a big thing, and, she's young, she's my age, she's like, well, I'll be 23 in December, but, she's young, and she's got lots of hope and dreams, and wah! It's just so obvious. Come on. You did such a disservice to that great actress, too. Giving her this really shitty storyline, having, like, these woke agenda points in it. Like, the beginning really felt inflammatory. because it's funny. I wanted to point out this lesbian parallel. With the good family, the parents, they don't support her being lesbian, and then as the movie goes on, they sort of forget and they don't care anymore. And they support her anyways because they want her to get rid of this addiction, and so they really really don't care anymore, and they love her and regardless. But then she dies. And then with the Sacklers, Richard makes a speech and he says, "I always supported you, sister. I always wanted you to have a girlfriend so you guys could be lesbos together. Be lesbo Sackler. Oh, yeah." So he always supported his sister, and she survives, even though they're the evil family. And so I like that because it sort of made the point that no matter what, that no matter when or how they supported her, it didn't really matter because it was still the drug problem. It wasn't really an issue that they weren't pro or anti-lesbian. It was an issue that she was addicted to this drug, this horrible drug, OxyContin. That was the issue. It wasn't ever really about the lesbian thing, but it sort of tricks you in the beginning, like with the stuff, the talking, the crude language. It sort of tricks you into thinking like, okay, this is going to be another 2021 woke show where it's like really hammering you over the head. Like as Richard said, we need to hammer the abusers over the head. Instead of that, it's like, we need to... Oh, fuck. Okay, this will be my last Richard Sackler voice. We need to hammer the audience over the head with agendas. That's what it was like in the beginning. But as it went on, it really became like an afterthought, basically. Like, after a while, it was like, who cares anymore? Like, it's not really, it doesn't matter. There were so many storylines like that, though, that felt like they were just introduced and then they didn't matter anymore. They served their purpose, they're gone. Like the co-lawyer, the second lawyer, the really nice guy, he had prostate cancer. He had it taken care of. He had surgery. And it was basically all for the purpose of having him reject having OxyContin in the hospital in favor of Tylenol. And it just felt like such like an agenda scene. Like, okay, he's rejecting the bad drug for the good drug. And, it just felt so obvious the way that they just had all these storylines that didn't go anywhere. They were just there to service the little agendas here and there. But overall, I still really like the show. Again, it's not that I hated it or anything. It's just that it has some issues that, a lot of drug movies and shows have, like having the sacrificial lamb character. You know what else it had, though? Let's talk about Bridget. The worst part of the show. The completely insufferable character. Bridget. Okay, we start off and we see Bridget and she's in full DEA agent, SWAT team, whatever, uniform. She's gonna bust some druggies, drug dealers, drug makers, all them drug people. And what's she talking about? She's like, I am going to get on a date tonight. I'm going to have a lot of fun on my date. And I am going to divorce my husband. He was very bad. And it's like, that's her whole storyline. I'm not even kidding. Like, her whole storyline this season is like that she has, number one, she has this emotion problem, which is really funny because it sounds so sexist to say that. But it's literally her whole story that, like, she's doing all this crusading against OxyContin, but she's got this really bad emotion problem where she gets mad at people and snaps at people, and she acts like she's, all the time like she's just such a bitch, and she acts like there's nothing wrong with that, and she never changes. which was really weird because it felt like she was going to change and she was going to do something else, like a different strategy to fight these people instead of just being so inflammatory. And we had all these stupid ass scenes where she's like, why can't I be mean and angry? Is it because I'm a woman? I'm a woman in the workplace and I can't be an angry woman? And at one point she's like, I am a very difficult woman. And that really got tired. Like, I binged it too, so it was even worse because every single scene with her, just because I'm a woman doesn't mean I can attend this meeting. It is very important that as a woman that I attend this meeting and that I fight these mean people because people are dying, like the lesbian coal miner Betsy. Did you guys hear about the woman Betsy? She was a lesbian and then she died from an overdose of heroin. It's just really embarrassing with her character. Just all the cringeworthy agendas with her. Basically her whole purpose was to serve, to make this report of addiction deaths, of Oxycontin deaths all over the country, and to the FDA and the what was the Purdue. Basically, the report is her whole purpose on the show. And then in the finale, guess what she does? Literally, all she does in the finale is she has a drink with the lawyers after they win their settlement deal, their plea deal. That's literally all her character gets to do in the finale. It was like a complete bamboozling of what? Like, that was her character? That was the whole point of her story? Of her having a drink with the lawyers? Like, I don't get it. Like, it's just so stupid with her character. And, she had this scene where she meets with Rudy Giuliani and, just like, oh, look, Rudy Giuliani, ew. And it's like, do we need to say, do we have to have a scene devoted to that? Like, everyone already knows that guy's a fucking retard. Rudy Giuliani is fucking retard. Like, no one needs to see, like, a whole scene, like, devoted, like, oh, no, my idol, Rudy Giuliani, is a bad guy, and I'm a sad woman now. Like, no one needed to see that. That scene was a waste of time. A lot of waste of time scenes like that. And then you know what else is her story, though? It's her getting into a relationship with Chubby Chilton, and literally just talking about work at home, and he's a selfish man and he doesn't want to hear anything about the poor people dying. Oh my God, people are dying. That's literally all there is to her story, is just that she was in a relationship with Chubby Chilton and it was bad, and then so she divorced him in the end, and then she got with another guy, I guess. Like, what was the point of that? Like, it was so stupid and so, like, just pointless. Like, who cares? Like, that whole marriage thing didn't matter at all. It really didn't matter. Even with the lawyer, Rick, and him, and, his family was sort of getting upset that they couldn't spend time with them because he was a lawyer, and so he was always away from home. That never came to any sort of point of any story. It just was like there to like fill up time. And so it's like, if you're going to have these stories, then you should develop them into complete ones. And in order to do that, though, they would have had to have more episodes. But let's talk about the most disappointing thing. Well, okay, first off, I just wanted to say another big issue. And I apologize if this review sounds very jumbled, because the show was very jumbled too. I mean, they jumped around constantly. It was really, really like you're gonna throw up from riding the ride in Problem Child 2. Like, it was so confusing in the beginning, and then it gradually got clearer as the show went along. But a big problem was that I couldn't tell what was real and what wasn't. Because I know that the show was based off of a book, and the book was sort of like a collection of research and shit. and of like several doctors, several people. Like, I don't know though. Like, they never really like say like, okay, is the doctor real? Is poor little Betsy real? You know, are any of these people real? Except I know the Sacklers are, but is anyone else real? Like, seriously, like, I wished I could have been able to tell like what was real and what wasn't, because it really ruined my emotional investment into the show. Because if it isn't real, then I'm not going to care about it, you know, unless it's all not real. Like, it should be like basically like completely one or the other. Like, it shouldn't be like 50-50 where it's like I have to guess all the time of like what was real and what wasn't. Like, it really sort of took me out of the show at some points of wondering like, oh shit, did that really happen? Did that really happen? Like, it was kind of like a buzzkill on the whole show. So I really didn't like that, especially when it came to the finale, because there were all these characters in the finale, and it's like they really wanted you to care about what happened to them, but it's like I didn't for some of them, because I didn't know if they were real. Like, that's another thing. They had oh god, I forgot all about Elizabeth Ann. Just like when I watched the show, and I was like, who's that? The girl with the mark on her face, the red spot in her face. Poor little Elizabeth Ann! Because Elizabeth Ann, she was basically a substitute for Betsy. Like, that was another thing. It was like, you killed off Betsy, and so what happened? You had to have Elizabeth Ann. And so Michael Keaton takes Elizabeth Ann to get treated. And I really loved the storyline of seeing Michael Keaton having to heal his community by taking them to get Soapox or whatever it was called, to try that for their therapy, to get off of OxyContin. I really like seeing that and seeing the progression of him taking more and more people, and him, you know, he's going out of his way every single week, twice a week, I think, or more, to help these people, and to just see like his dedication to people. Just really, really like good stuff, good storytelling. And seeing his transformation too, he had a really good transformation. But Elizabeth Ann, she was basically Betsy 2.0. But this time he could help her, and she's not going to die because, you know, I don't know why. There's no reason. Like, her character was so irrelevant that she disappeared for a couple episodes, and I forgot she even existed, because she was in this really cliche-ass sequence, this teen party sequence where she gets offered the OxyContin to crush and sniff it, snort it, and you know, it's such a cliche, like, dare fucking sequence where, you know, she gets peer pressured into doing it. Like, oh no, peer pressure, evil. And it was just like such a cliche scene from a drug show, movie, whatever. And then they have this overdose sequence with one of the guys that she was with, and they just kind of like brush it off. Like, I thought that would be like a huge deal, like his overdose, and like, you know, like, I don't know, like teenagers going, having to try to deal with this overdose at a party. Like, it could have been like a really huge deal, but it was just kind of rushed through. And then Elizabeth Ann, you know, she talks about wanting to become a writer, and she just writes these journals for Dr. Phoenix and everyone else to hear. But we never really see what happens to her. We never see what happens to Shoulder Guy. So many things, just so many questions rather than answers. And a lot of the dialogue, too. The dialogue in the beginning of the show especially, it felt very forced and very agenda-based dialogue, to where it literally just mimicked the training people. Like when the salespeople got told what to say by all these different speakers, well, the normal characters would talk like them too. to where it was almost like they're trying to train the audience to think a certain way. And so I really didn't like that, some of the dialogue. It was pretty bad in the first couple of episodes. And then, what else? Well, so, okay, my biggest thing of, like, being disappointed was with Mr. Sinister Bill Poulter, the salesman. Because the whole season, he has this back and forth relationship with this evil female sales rep. And, you know, she was not worth it, by the way. Like, the way that she was treating him, it was really sickening. The way that she mentally abused him the whole season, you know, it really, it's real, though. You know, there are a lot of women who do that in these corporate jobs. You know, they sort of use men like objects, the way that, like, you'd see, like, in older films, the way that you'd have, like, a guy using women in a corporate job. You know, it was really, like, ugly to see that, to see her character, the way she acted, of, like, just, oh God, like, really, really bad. But she transformed a little bit, as a little bit over the show, and then in the finale, she literally just disappeared. Like, I know that she moved to New Orleans, and I guess she couldn't handle, like, not getting the money, and she just couldn't give it up. But I really was not satisfied with that whole storyline, because I really wanted to see them together. I wanted to see them team up together to do something good. And I thought it would have been a lot better if maybe they team up and then she starts working for a different drug company or something, you know? Like, maybe she switches companies and she joins another one, and maybe that company's just as evil as Purdue. And so you could have your cake and eat it too, where you have the good moment with him and her teaming up, because I don't even think is she even in the finale? Is she in, like, the opening? Like, I don't even think she is. Like, it's really, you know, once again, like, a lot of these people, they get shortchanged in this show in favor of, you know, more scenes of Rosario Dawson, you know, crying about her being a wham and not being listened to. You know, well, what about this wham and salesman? You know, I want to see more of her. And what happened with her, because she literally just disappears, like Andy Griffith Show style. So, is there anything else to talk about? Well, no, not really. I just wanted to make sure with myself, just thinking back of, like, this 48-minute long review already, just hoping that I've said everything, because that's the trouble when you review such a huge thing in one video. You really have to make sure that you say everything, or else you're going to finish the video and then have, like, regrets of, like, oh fuck, I wish I talked about that, I wish I talked about that. But I think I've done it. Okay. There was one scene that really stood out to me. It might have been the best scene of the season, and it was the scene where Bill Poulter's character came to visit Michael Keaton at his rehab facility, and Michael Keaton asks him for pills, and it was a really fantastic scene. And that's another thing too, is that we don't get to see them together in the finale. They have really good, like, father-son chemistry, and I really wanted to see them in the finale have some sort of a moment. But it felt almost like the finale had some agenda as well, of, like, you know, this is still an ongoing issue, so we can't have really anything be satisfying. Because they really didn't have anything satisfying in the finale overall that was that satisfying. And it felt like it's just because they didn't want you to feel satisfied. They want you to feel like you have to go out and do something now about OxyContin. They want you to go out and protest and lie on the floor like a crybaby with papers all around you. Like, you know, in my high school, those fuckers at my high school, for our class senior prank, it was so embarrassing. It was literally this protest. There was this little dipshit. I'm not gonna say his name. He got named class clown. Wow, really embarrassing. My high school class was really, really embarrassing. I'm ashamed to be a part of their class, and I mean that. Like, there were really some retards in that class. Well, this dipshit, he took his backpack and he emptied out all of his papers from senior year all over the lunchroom. So all the lunch ladies, all these old woman lunch ladies had to go around picking up papers. Like, that was literally the senior prank. I couldn't believe that shit. Like, I filmed it too. I have video evidence of looking at this bullshit. They did the same dumbass thing in this Dopesick show, aka like fucking Agenda Sick, more like. They dumping papers all over the ground like you're 2 years old. Like, really, really bizarre behavior. It was really kind of pathetic to look at, honestly, and it just reminded me of that fucking stupid prank. I mean, that was our class prank. I mean, oh god, like, what a pathetic waste of time that was. What a pathetic excuse for a prank. What shame on those fucking idiots for doing that. So now I'm gonna rate this show in terms of food. Overall, I would say that my general feelings are, once again, I really liked it overall. It had some bumps along the way. It had a rocky start, but I did think that the finale completed the show in a somewhat satisfying way in terms of concluding everything and, not leave it. Well, it did leave a lot of stones unturned, but it was a good episode. Like, I really enjoyed that episode, even though it left a lot to be desired. So, there was this hotel that I went to in Chicago. Long story short, one year we went there and the restaurant changed. And it changed to where they now served dinner only. They never served any breakfast. And the dinner that we had fish and chips. I've talked about this before. It was such good fish and chips. It was phenomenal. And we had it twice, 2 nights in a row. And it was so good. And, we had some gross chicken tortilla soup. That represents Rosario Dawson. And then we didn't have any dessert. They had no desserts available on the menu. That would represent the show not getting more episodes to expand upon these storylines that felt incomplete. Because if these aren't real people, then you can do whatever you want. So if they mostly aren't real people, you could have had more episodes to go through some more stuff. It really just felt like a lot of the show sort of relied on these great performances. Rather than trying to tell like great full stories in most of the time. But it was such good fish and chips. And then the next year we came there and they shut the restaurant down, and instead they had this shitty little restaurant in the lobby of the hotel with the shitty little bar. And so all it was like bar food, like, cheeseburgers and beer and shit. And, they had this little pathetic snack refrigerator place where you could buy some snacks and you could buy a little yogurt cup. And it was all like pre-made shit that they just ordered to have there. They didn't make it themselves. Oh, God. And I remember they made biscuits and gravy for Safi for breakfast, and they were the worst biscuits and gravy she's ever had. And so it just felt like sort of like this show was like a fizzle. It was a fizzle, and they should have just spent like one more year making more episodes to expand on these storylines that didn't feel complete. and it just felt kind of like a fizzle. It just felt like a okay, like there were some really good moments, but the moments that were really, really good, that were like the best moments, they were sprinkled throughout the season instead of being like at the end or near the end. So I really felt like this show, it was rushed, kinda. And now here's the smoking gun of my review, kinda, I guess you could say. This is yet again another show where you had an emo, suicidal editor, and they sucked all the color out of the movie or show, the show. And so this show just looked like a sludge, a giant pile of sludge. And it looked so ugly, like, ugh, looking at this ugly ass show. It's all because of the editor sucking out all the color. Another color vampire editor. So you know what I did? I don't know what that was. That was weird squeaking noises. I turned the color up all the way to 100. And I find that I have to do that on everything nowadays. Like everything that comes out, they suck the color out. And I did that, and it immediately improved my enjoyment of the show. I went from just watching one episode today to binging the entire show in a matter of hours, in a matter of an evening. Just a Friday evening yesterday. I binged, and I enjoyed it, and I liked watching it, and the color added some life back into the show. It added some humanity back into the show. Richard Sackler looked less like a skeleton man walking around. So I would really recommend people doing that, because you got to do that with all these modern movies and shows, unfortunately. And I feel like that's about it. I hope you guys enjoyed this review, because it was a pain in the ass to do an hour-long review, and now to do another hour-long review, it's going to be even a bigger pain in the ass to edit and upload it. So I really hope that it's worth it, I hope that I talked about everything that I wanted to, and I hope that you guys aren't too upset that I wasn't sad about poor little Bitsy. But I just wasn't. Like, it's just really like, I could see it coming from a mile away. It wasn't impactful at all, unfortunately, even though the actress was really good. And, she was a really good actress. Like, I hope she does more. I saw that she was one of the main girls in Booksmart, which I haven't seen that film, and maybe I'll watch that to see more of her. And I'll check some other things out. I'd like to see more of Bill Poulter, Michael Keaton. Michael Keaton's like one of my favorite actors. Like, he's just such a fantastic actor, and I just really love seeing him in everything that he does. It's really rare that I find an actor, multiple actors in the show. I'd love to just watch everything they do, and make sure that they're getting all the support that they need. So that they keep getting hired, because these are some damn good actors. And the guy who made this show, he's even better, because he made that Rebel in the Rye movie that came out, didn't get any attention from people, and it was a really good biopic movie. I really liked it a lot, and it was all about the guy who wrote The Catcher in the Rye. I never read Catcher in the Rye, but it was a really good movie. And he really knows how to do biopics, how to do real-life things. And so I really think that he did a good job with this series, even though I have my criticisms. And I'll always have those criticisms forever, unless somehow magically in like 50 years or 20 years they made a season 2. Wouldn't that be funny if they did it like with Twin Peaks: The Return, where they came back in 25 years and did Dopesick Season 2. And that'd be pretty funny. So please like this video, comment, tell me what you thought about Dopesick. Did you like that final speech by Michael Keaton where he talked about pain being a good thing? And then please subscribe to our channel if you'd like to see more reviews, honest, in-depth reviews. Goodbye, everybody. See you soon.